Hello, everybody. Chris Hislop from the Montana World Affairs Council. This is What, So What, Now What, our international affairs webcast that brings you an expert on the issue of the day. And in just 5 minutes, you become the smartest kid on the block. Today, we're joined by Gita Saedi Kiely, the director of FilmAid. FilmAid uses film and other media to bring life-saving information, psychological relief, and hope to refugees and other communities in need. Gita has spent decades producing, programming, and raising funds for documentary films. She spent many years with Kartemkun Films, a Chicago-based film collaborative that empowers documentary makers who create stories that foster a more engaged and just society. She served as executive director of the Big Sky Film Institute and the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival. She's taught documentary film at the University of Montana in the School of Journalism, and she sits on the board of the Independent Television Service and serves as a grant advisor to the Redford Center. Wow, that must keep you busy, Gita. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
I couldn't be happier. Anytime I meet Montanans who are engaged in the world like you are, I want to hear more, and people want to hear more. Can you tell us a little bit about FilmAid?
Sure. Well, I don't think FilmAid ever imagined that their global headquarters would be in Missoula, Montana, but here we are today. FilmAid has been around for over 20 years. It is a global NGO that uses film, sharing films, making films as a vehicle to educate, inspire, and empower underserved communities. We started our work over 20 years ago in refugee camps, but since have really shifted to underserved and marginalized communities across the globe. We still screen inspiring and educational films to communities, but our real focus is amplifying the quietest voices in communities through filmmaker training and mentorship programs. FilmAid is now part of a much larger organization called Internews. Internews supports local independent media in over 100 countries, and that relationship connects us to the people and organizations that are part of communities already that we serve globally. So Internews has a staff of over 1,000 that we actually get to call partners and work very locally with communities and individuals that don't think they have a voice to share.
That is a really incredible global reach, Gita. And in this day and age, when we hear a lot about aid and assistance to communities in need, like the work you do, we ask ourselves, why does this matter? What effect does this have on the United States and on Montanans?
Well, I mean, as we are seeing from the war in Ukraine right now, what is happening across the globe does affect us all. Instability, be it political, economic, climate, war, does have an effect, whether it be a week later, a year later. We are all connected. Our work is part of building healthy information environments in over 100 countries that are considered vulnerable and at a threat in some capacity for their freedoms. The more we do to support local voices to be heard, create an engaged, news literate community, the greater governments, institutions, and platforms, media platforms, are held accountable for protecting human rights. We believe high quality information acts as a driver of positive change, and we know resources to succeed in the information world are very limited in many vulnerable communities. So that for FilmAid and Internews, that is really the hole that we are trying to fill, not only to really protect and have that community thrive, but to thrive on a global scale.
That is an amazing connection between kind of amplifying the voices of people around the world and human rights. I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about where that or FilmAid or Internews or this the entire sector may be going? What's next? What's the now what?
Yeah, well, we are in this year we're in 11 countries doing 11 very distinct programs. And I do have a goal of being in 25 by 2025. Internews is in 100 countries, and it's not just to be doing little programs everywhere. It's actually to make a replicable difference that we can share on a global stage. Our tagline is democratizing who gets to tell their story one community at a time. And beyond telling local stories, I'm really looking towards connecting those stories through programming that can be seen worldwide and be a driver to change policy, change attitude, for greater, not to think too big, but really for greater equity and peace in vulnerable communities across the world.
And Gita, can viewers see some of these documentaries here at on your website?
Yeah, well, on our website, we have bits of information about each program that we're doing. We also have a Facebook page. And we have a YouTube site that we're actually just now repopulating as part of Internews. So we will continue to share on those two platforms.
Outstanding, Gita. So to all the viewers out there, if you're interested in learning more and hearing the voices of those people you may not hear, check it out at filmaid.org. Special thanks to you, Gita, and FilmAid for joining us today. Another special thanks to our very generous sponsors for this program, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, Allegiance, and Stockman Bank. They help us bring this and many more programs to communities and schools across Montana and around the world. Gita, thanks again. Everybody else, you be well. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.